Hello everyone, a good day to you. Today we will continue our lecture on chemical reaction equilibria. So, as I said last class, we covered introduction part of this chemical reaction equilibria. Today let us discuss what is the how this chemical equilibrium constant is defined and other aspects. So for any reaction, we know the equilibrium condition is achieved when rate of forward reaction is equal to rate of reverse reaction. With these two things, we will define forward rate constant and reverse rate constant. So the equilibrium constant is K forward divided by K reverse, which is the products to the power their stoichiometric coefficient and divided by reactants to their stoichiometric coefficient. This you have studied in simple chemistry, and this is known as law of mass action. The exponents m and n are equal to the coefficients in the balanced chemical equation. Note that this is equilibrium, not kinetics. The rates of the forward and reverse reactions are equal, not the concentration of reactants and products. So the significance of this constant, that is equilibrium constant, what does it mean? Small k means the reaction has not proceeded, so nearly all reactants, there is very less products. Large K means all reactants have converted to product, so there is large amount of product or all product. This indicates large K. Intermediate K, mix of reactant and products. This case will happen when the equilibrium achieved. In some cases, for large value of K, the equilibrium shift towards right, and for small, it shift towards left. For intermediate, the K is in between, somewhere at the middle. The composition expressed in mole fraction at this K value need to be assessed or expressed. So this is the significance of or the range of equilibrium constants. Now some cases, how the equilibrium conversion changes with temperature, we can represent by this graph. You see, when temperature increases, the equilibrium conversion also increases. It reaches a maximum value. After that, the equilibrium conversion decreases. So reactive processes need to be characterized in terms of the maximum possible yield of the desired product at any given condition, starting from the raw materials, that is reactants. The theory of chemical reactions indicates that rates of reaction are generally enhanced by increase of temperature. However, experience shows that the maximum quantum of conversion of reactants to products does not increase monotonically. Indeed, for a vast majority of maximum conversion reaches a maximum with respect to reaction temperature and subsequently decreases. So we can say that initially the forward reaction dominates, but as time proceeds, the backward reaction become increasingly significant, which eventually results in two rates becoming equal. So for reversible reactions, we consider the rate of forward reaction and rate of backward reaction. And when the rate of forward reaction is equal to rate of backward reaction, we tell that is the equilibrium point or maximum conversion point. So after this point is reached, the concentration of each species in the reactor become fixed and display no further change unless propelled by any external imposed disturbance, say provision of heat. Under such condition, the reaction is said to be in the state of equilibrium. So that's the reason why the equilibrium conversion itself changes with the variation of temperature may be appreciated easily. The rate of the forward and backward reactions both depend on temperature. However, an increase in temperature will in general have different impacts on the rates of each. Hence, the extent of conversion at which they become identical will vary with the temperature. This promotes a change in the equilibrium conversion. So, reactions for which the conversion is 100% are termed as irreversible reaction. Complete conversion means irreversible reaction, while those which never attains complete conversion are essentially reversible reactions. The fact that a maximum may occur in the conversion behavior suggests that for such reactions, while the forward reaction rates dominate at lower temperature, the backward reaction may be predominant at higher temperature. So this type of reaction we can tell as reactions with shifting behavior. That is, at low temperature, their behavior is forward reaction. Reactants will convert to product. But at higher temperature, their behavior is products will convert to reactants. Of course, this is have having a very great industrial application. I can tell you one example, one case study. Imagine we are separating some pollutants from air. For example, say sulfur dioxide or say carbon dioxide. So the normal method is we react these pollutants with some chemical solvent so that this component such as sulfur dioxide, SOx or carbon dioxide react with chemical solvent known as alkaline solutions. So after this reaction, we must separate the component like your sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide from the solvent so that the solvent can be reused. So the forward reaction, that is reaction between solvent component and pollutant, it takes place at low temperature, say around 40 degree. And when we separate the pollutant component from the solvent, that reaction takes place at high temperature, say example 120 degree Celsius. So this high temperature is required to regenerate the solvent again so that the solvent will react the pollutant component. Okay, and this cycle will proceed. This type we call as regenerative chemical absorption process. So there are a lot of industrial applications of this. Take the advantage of low temperature forward reaction and high temperature reverse reaction. Okay. Now we will go to mathematical treatment, how we express the equilibrium composition with mole fraction. Okay, so we will define some terms like the amount of reaction, the extent of reaction, and the reaction coordinate, then the mole of reaction. Okay, because when the reaction starts, we should know how much the reaction proceed, how much the reaction completed, what percent of the reaction completed, and we can calculate the mole fraction at that completion stage. So that is our extent of reaction. So I will take to I will give to your textbook. Let us go to your textbook and see how we define the reaction coordinate. Any chemical reaction we can represent as nu 1 A1 that is mod of nu1. Nu1 can be negative or positive, so we have put a mod nu1 a1 plus nu2 a2 etc. It gives nu3 a3 plus nu4 a4 etc. These are the reactants and these are the products. So nu1 is known as a stoichiometric coefficient, a1 is species, similarly nu2 is the stoichiometric coefficient of species a2 etc. And these stoichiometric coefficients are positive for product and negative for reactant. Why negative? Because the reactants are decreasing and the products are forming. So decreasing means negative and increasing means positive. Consider one example of a reaction: methane plus steam. H2O is actually steam, to produce carbon monoxide and hydrogen. This is an important reaction. We can say steam reforming of natural gas for the production of hydrogen. Very, very important reaction. So in this, the stoichiometric coefficient of methane is -1, water is -1, carbon monoxide is +1, and hydrogen is +3. See here, it is -1, -1, +1, and +3. This is the way. And we know chemical reactions happen and the number of products or the moles of products getting formed and the moles of reactant getting reacted are proportional to their stoichiometric coefficients. For example, in this reaction, if 0.5 mole of methane disappears by reaction, then 0.5 moles of water also disappears by reaction, and 0.5 mole of carbon monoxide will appear, and 1.5 mole of hydrogen will appear. So the reactants, the amount of reactants and products are proportional to their stoichiometry number. So we can write the number of moles of species 2 and number of moles of species 1, how they are relating. dN2, change of number of moles of species 2 divided by stoichiometric coefficient of species 2 is equal to change of number of moles of species 1 divided by stoichiometric coefficient of species 1. Similarly, this others, it is applicable to others also. So in general, we can write dN1 by nu1 is equal to dN2 by nu2, which is equal to dN3 by nu3, which is equal to dN4 by nu4, which is a constant, which should be a constant, and that constant we are representing the change of number of moles with respect to their coefficient. Stoichiometric coefficient is equal to d epsilon. So this d epsilon we have introduced here. The epsilon is known as reaction coordinate or extent of reaction. For a small change, it is represented as d epsilon. So what is the limits of epsilon? That is, epsilon is 0 when the reaction is not started. the extent of reaction is 0 at initially when the reaction is not started, and it increases when some time reached to a value of epsilon. So this relation D and I, change of number of moles of species I, is equal to change of extent of reaction multiplied by its stoichiometric coefficient or stoichiometric number. Now this equation we will integrate. dni with limit of NiO, initial number of moles, to number of moles at some time t dni, which is equal to stoichiometric coefficient of ith species and the extent of reaction starting from 0 to epsilon dE. And I is equal to number of species, and upon integration we get a dni, which is ni is equal to ni0, that is initial number of moles, plus nu I epsilon. So this is the relation between mole fraction and the extent of reaction. Okay, thank you all.